It was late on a chilly night during a family trip with my parents and sister. Suddenly, my daughter grabbed my arm, her voice trembling. "Mom, hide in the closet now." Confused, I slipped inside the closet as she shut the doors. Moments later, we heard the sound of our hotel room door unlocking. The Minnows Resort, nestled in the Adirondack Mountains, was like a magical castle that transformed from summer green to autumn crimson and then to winter white. When we arrived that Saturday afternoon, the large windows in the front lobby framed a breathtaking painting of majestic deer. "Are there deer here?" Sophia asked excitedly, pressing her nose against the window. "Yes, honey, there's lots of wildlife here." Seeing my daughter's delighted face made me feel that choosing this trip was the right decision. As a nurse with irregular hours, including night shifts, I often struggle to spend quality time with Sophia. Every day, I feel the challenges of raising a daughter alone while continuing to work. "Emma, leave your luggage there. The porter will carry it for you," my mother, Eleanor, said with an elegant gesture. She always looked refined and well put together. How she acquired such a sophisticated air despite growing up in a small town in upstate New York remained a mystery to me. "Mom, I can carry it myself. It's not that much." But to not use a service that's provided, my mother's face showed slight disappointment. "Emma's right, Eleanor. It's best to do things yourself when you can," my father, George, interjected. He was a retired high school teacher who preferred a simple, straightforward life, except for what mother called special occasions. This trip was one of them. "Oh, George, this trip is special. It's our first family vacation in a long time," Eleanor said. "Hey, everyone. I finished checking in," my sister, Charlotte, said, returning from the front desk in an elegant pantsuit. She works as an investment analyst in New York. Perfect hair, sophisticated fashion, and confident speech. She always commanded attention. "I've arranged 2 rooms, a lakeview room for Emma and Sophia, and a suite for me and our parents." "Charlotte, thank you, but such a luxurious suite." "It's fine. We deserve to treat ourselves once in a while," Charlotte said casually. Her annual income must be more than triple mine. As we entered the elevator, Sophia nestled close to Charlotte. "Aunt Charlotte, what's New York like? Are there lots of tall buildings?" "Yes, Sophia, you should definitely come visit sometime. I'll show you all the sights." "That would be great." "Mom, can I go?" I smiled and nodded. "Of course, perhaps during summer vacation." When we reached our room, Sophia immediately jumped on the bed, exclaiming, "So fluffy." The view from the window was breathtaking, with the setting sun turning the lake surface golden. "After you unpack, let's meet in the restaurant downstairs," Eleanor said. "Let's meet in the lobby at 6:30. When we were alone in the room, Sophia asked in a more subdued voice, "Couldn't Dad really come?" As I gently stroked her hair, I answered, "No, he had an important business trip, but he promised he'd join us next time." In reality, Michael's message had been, "Got work, can't make it." Though we'd been separated for a year and were in the middle of divorce mediation, we maintained a friendly facade in front of Sophia, but in truth, we barely spoke to each other. "Let's get ready," Grandma and everyone are waiting. When we came down to the lobby, my parents and Charlotte were already waiting. Eleanor had changed into a beautiful dress, and George had put on a jacket. Charlotte had also changed into a festive blouse, making my simple dress suddenly feel out of place. "Emma, didn't you buy any new clothes for this trip?" Eleanor whispered. "Mom, this is fine. Well, that's just like you." At the restaurant, my parents reminisced about past family vacations, our adventures at campgrounds when Charlotte and I were children, sunburns at the beach, sheltering from rain in mountain cabins. Those memories were warm and nostalgic. "Sophia, Grandma made this sweater for you. Wear it when it gets cold," Eleanor said, taking out a blue sweater from her bag. "Wow, thank you, Grandma." Sophia happily accepted the sweater. George turned to Sophia and said in a mysterious voice, "There's a legend that mountain spirits live around here. Sometimes if you look out the window at night, you might see lights dancing across the lake." Sophia's eyes sparkled. "Really? I want to see them." Dinner was luxurious. Charlotte talked about her recent successes at work in New York, and our parents listened proudly. "Last month we landed a major client, and the whole team got bonuses." "That's wonderful, Charlotte." "We're always so proud of you," Eleanor said emotionally. George laughed. "The financial genius of our family. How are things as a nurse, Emma?" "Busy, I imagine," Charlotte asked, turning to me. "Yes, quite. The emergency department was short-staffed last month, which was challenging, but seeing patients recover gives me a sense of purpose. That sounds difficult, but someone has to do that kind of work, I suppose. Eleanor's response was measured. Emma is kind and dedicated, which makes her well suited to nursing, George said. Though meant as a compliment, it somehow felt like it contained a comparison to Charlotte. Sophia sat between her grandparents, enjoying her meal happily. Seeing her smile made my discomfort seem trivial. After dinner, Sophia fell asleep quickly, exhausted from the long day. After she settled down, I stepped out onto the balcony to gaze at the star-filled sky. The mountain air was crisp, and the stars shone more brightly than they ever could in the city. Family time should be enjoyable, but I felt uncomfortable. I found myself thinking about the lifelong comparisons with my sister and the gap between my parents' expectations and reality. Still, I tried to convince myself it was probably all in my head. When the morning sun streamed through the window, bathing the room in golden light, Sophia was still asleep. I slipped quietly out of bed and onto the balcony. Through the morning mist, the lake's surface gleamed like glass. Taking a deep breath, the clean, pine-scented air filled my lungs. I told myself that this family vacation in such beautiful surroundings would surely create good memories. At the breakfast buffet, my parents and Charlotte were already at the table. "Good morning, Emma. Did you sleep well?" George looked up from his newspaper. "Yes, very well. Sophia seems to be enjoying it too. Where is Sophia?" Eleanor looked around. "She's getting dressed. She should be here soon." Charlotte sipped her coffee while frequently checking her smartphone. A slight frown creased her brow. Was something bothering her? Important work? I asked lightly. "Yes, something like that," Charlotte answered briefly, before focusing on her screen again. When Sophia appeared, she lacked her usual energy and seemed somewhat downcast. "Good morning, honey. How are you feeling?" "Good morning, Mom," Sophia replied in a small voice. Her shoulders were more hunched than usual. "What's wrong?" I asked, concerned. "Nothing, just a little tired." Eleanor placed orange juice in front of Sophia and said, "We're going hiking in the mountains today. The views will be beautiful." Sophia smiled faintly, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Where had yesterday's excitement gone? After breakfast, we joined a guided hike offered by the resort. As we climbed a gentle slope, the guide explained about local plants and animals. Sophia, who would normally bombard people with questions, just walked quietly today. While drinking water at a rest point, Charlotte's phone rang. She immediately moved to a distance and continued her conversation in hushed tones. My parents didn't seem particularly concerned and just enjoyed the scenery. Though puzzled, I assumed it was a business call. However, when Charlotte returned, her expression showed tension. "Important business?" I asked again. "Yes, something like that. Don't worry." Charlotte waved her hand dismissively and changed the subject. "The forest here is truly beautiful." During the hike, Charlotte stepped away to take calls at least 3 times. Each time she returned, she seemed to exchange quick glances with our parents, or was that my imagination? After lunch, Charlotte stood up, saying, "I have a spa appointment, so I'll leave now. Want to come along, Emma?" She made a perfunctory invitation but was already standing. "No, I'll stay with Mom and Dad." After Charlotte left, Eleanor said, "That girl is always so busy." "She seems especially busy lately," I remarked. "She's getting a lot of calls." "She always has important work," Eleanor said proudly. "I hear she's highly regarded on Wall Street." I sighed quietly. Eleanor's words always contained praise for my sister. That hadn't changed since childhood. Charlotte was the promising daughter, and I was the ordinary daughter. Even as adults, those roles remained unchanged. In the afternoon, my parents enjoyed reading time in the lobby. Sophia had brought a book too, and was quietly reading on a sofa near her grandparents. I was concerned about her. "Are you having fun?" I asked, sitting beside her on the sofa. Sophia looked up from her book and smiled, but her smile was different from her usual one. "Yes. Is something bothering you?" "No, nothing's wrong." She returned to her book. "This story is interesting." In the evening, we gathered at the restaurant again. Charlotte had returned from the spa and was in an unusually good mood. "Everyone, I have good news." She raised her wine glass. "Tomorrow will be a special day." "Oh, that sounds exciting," George responded happily. Eleanor nodded too. "Yes, it will be a very special day." "What's happening?" I asked, puzzled. I wasn't aware of any special event planned for the family vacation. "It's a surprise." Eleanor grinned. "You'll find out tomorrow." The conversation continued with an unnaturally cheerful tone. Charlotte shared amusing work stories, and our parents recounted one memory after another. Everyone was laughing, and though I maintained a smile on the surface, something felt off. Sophia barely participated in the conversation, eating her meal quietly. After dessert, George said toward the end of the meal, "We have some adult matters to discuss. Emma, would you mind going back to the room with Sophia?" "What kind of discussion?" "I'd like to hear too." "Just business talk," Eleanor answered quickly. "We just want to hear Charlotte's investment advice. It would be boring for you." "Yes," Charlotte added. "Besides, Sophia looks tired." I looked at my daughter. She did look tired, but there was something else in her eyes, too, anxiety of some kind. "All right," I reluctantly agreed. "Good night then." On the way back to our room, Sophia quietly asked, "Mom, are you okay?" "Yes, of course." "Why?" "Nothing," she answered softly. Once in the room, Sophia immediately changed into her pajamas and got into bed. Usually she would ask me to read her a picture book, but tonight she just said she was sleepy. After she fell asleep, I thought while taking a shower, something was off with the family, but I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was different. Was it just the distance that comes with adulthood, or something else? Charlotte's frequent phone calls, my parents' subtle exchanges of glances, and Sophia's unsettled behavior, everything seemed to suggest something. When I emerged from the shower, unexpectedly, Sophia was awake on the bed. She was staring out the window into the darkness. "Sophia, you're still awake?" She slowly turned toward me. In the moonlight, her face showed a mixture of fear and determination. "Mom, something scary is happening." "What happened?" I sat down beside her. "I can't say, but," she faltered. "I want to protect you, Mom." "Protect me from what?" Sophia didn't answer. She looked out the window again. "Tomorrow, be careful." I hugged my daughter. I could feel her small body trembling. Sophia's anxious words wouldn't leave my mind. "I want to protect you, Mom." "Protect me from what?" Even after she fell asleep, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. From outside the window came only the sound of the wind and occasional calls of nocturnal animals. The clock hands past midnight, then pointed to 1. Even with my eyes closed, sleep wouldn't come. Instead, questions arose one after another. Charlotte's suspicious calls, my parents' subtle exchanges of glances, Sophia's sudden change in attitude, everything seemed like a portent of something. I finally fell asleep around 2:00 a.m., but that sleep didn't last long. I woke to a small rustling sound. Looking at the clock, it showed 2:15 a.m. At first, I thought it might be an echo from a dream, but then I heard the same sound again. I sat up in bed and looked around in the darkness. Moonlight filtered through the gap in the curtains, dimly illuminating the room. In that light, I could see Sophia getting up from her bed. She was moving very quietly, but seemed fully awake. "Sophia," I called softly. "What's wrong?" She froze momentarily, then slowly turned toward me. Her face showed unmistakable fear, even in the moonlight. "Mom," her voice trembled. "You're awake?" "Yes. I couldn't sleep well." "What about you? What's wrong?" Sophia glanced toward the window, then quickly walked to my bed. "Shh," she put her finger to her lips. "Speak quietly." Her serious demeanor made me lower my voice too. "What happened?" Sophia grabbed my arm. Her small hand was trembling. "Mom, hide in the closet quick," she whispered in my ear. "What? Why?" I was confused. "What's happening? Please, don't ask questions." Her eyes were moist with tears. "Hurry." "Sophia, did something frighten you? Did someone threaten you?" She shook her head. "There's no time to explain. Please, Mom, trust me." The fear and pleading in my daughter's face made me swallow my questions. Something was happening. Her fear was real. Maternal instinct told me to trust my daughter. "All right." I got out of bed and took her hand. "Let's hide together." "No," Sophia said with surprising firmness. "I'll be fine. Only you need to hide. But, please." Her eyes were dead serious. "Trust me. Children's intuition is sometimes sharper than adults. From my experience as a nurse, I knew the importance of intuition in crisis situations. There was no time for logical thinking. All right, I headed for the closet. Fortunately, this hotel room had a large walk-in closet containing thick bathrobes and spare blankets. When I entered, Sophia closed the door. It wasn't complete darkness. Moonlight filtered slightly through the door gap. Inside the closet, I listened intently. I could hear Sophia's footsteps. She seemed to have returned to her bed. Then silence fell over the room. Only the ticking of the clock announced the passage of time. In this strange situation, I peeked through the gap in the door. Sophia was in bed, covered with a blanket, seemingly trembling. She looked toward the window, then quickly closed her eyes as if expecting something or someone to come. 1 minute, 2 minutes, time passed. Everything was quiet. Maybe Sophia had just had a nightmare, or perhaps it was fear created by a child's imagination. Just as I was beginning to think this, suddenly, the lock on the room door clicked open. I held my breath. My heart began to pound fiercely, and I could hear my blood pulsing in my ears. Someone was entering the room. Hotel staff wouldn't enter without notice, especially in the middle of the night. The door opened slowly, and the hallway lights spilled into the room. Then 3 shadows slipped into the room: Eleanor, George, and Charlotte. They entered quietly, almost like intruders. When the door closed, Charlotte said in a low voice, "Don't turn on the lights. The moonlight is enough." My heart pounded even harder. What was happening? Why were they sneaking into my room in the middle of the night? And how did Sophia know? Emma's asleep, right? Eleanor's voice was lower and colder than usual. "Yes," George responded in a whisper, "according to plan." "Plan? What plan?" Charlotte stepped forward. She was holding something in her hand, reflecting in the moonlight. It had a metallic gleam. It looked like a syringe. Fear froze my body. Was this a nightmare? No, this was reality. My family was plotting something. Sophia's warning echoed in my head. "I want to protect you, Mom." Charlotte approached Sophia's bed. "Sophia, are you awake?" she called in a gentle voice. Her tone had the usual friendliness, but the syringe in her hand showed that the kindness was false. Sophia emerged from under the blanket. "I'm awake." Her voice was small and trembling. "Where's your mother?" George asked, looking around the bed. "She's taking a shower," Sophia lied. There was fear in her voice, but it was steady. "A shower?" Eleanor expressed disbelief. "At this hour?" "Mom woke up and said she wanted to take a shower," Sophia continued. "About 10 minutes ago." Eleanor looked toward the bathroom. "I don't hear any water running." "Maybe she's finished," Sophia added to her lie. "No lying," Eleanor said in a cold voice. "I know there's no one in the bathroom." Charlotte moved closer to Sophia. "If you don't tell us, I'll have to use this." She showed the syringe in her hand. It gleamed coldly in the moonlight. "Aunt Charlotte," Sophia's voice trembled. "Why?" "It's for your own good, Sophia." Charlotte's voice was sweet, yet spine-chillingly cold. "We don't intend to hurt anyone, just make you sleep a little." "What are you going to do to Mom?" Anger mixed into Sophia's voice. She was clutching the blanket tightly. "You don't need to worry," George said. "We just want to talk to her." "That's a lie," Sophia shouted. "I heard you yesterday." "You all were planning to." "Be quiet," Eleanor said harshly. "Enough. Where is Emma?" "In the closet." I was trembling with fear and anger. My family was threatening my daughter, and they were planning to do something to me. My heart constricted at Sophia's courage. Enough was enough. I flung open the closet door. "What are you doing?" The 3 turned around in surprise. Charlotte still held the syringe. "Emma!" Eleanor's voice mixed surprise and anger. "The plan is ruined," she said coldly, her voice lacking any warmth I had known from my mother. A heavy silence spread through the room. In the moonlight, various emotions played across the 3 faces: anger on Eleanor's, confusion on George's, and on Charlotte's, calculating calmness. She still held the syringe. "Put it down." I directed my gaze at Charlotte's hand. "That syringe." "Emma, calm down." George stepped forward. "This is for your own good." "My own good?" Anger welled up. "Threatening my daughter? Sneaking in at midnight, this is for my own good?" Sophia jumped off the bed and ran to me. I embraced her as I faced the 3. "Explain," I said as calmly as possible. "What plan? Why are you doing this?" "You don't need to know the details," Eleanor said. "Charlotte, hurry." Charlotte, still holding the syringe, took a step closer. I instinctively shielded Sophia behind me. "You know about Michael, don't you?" Charlotte suddenly asked. "What about Michael and our relationship?" Confusion clouded my mind. "What do you mean?" Charlotte smirked. "Your precious husband and I have been together for over a year." "What are you saying?" Words caught in my throat. "Hard to believe?" Charlotte's tone was provocative. "But it's true. Michael was attracted to me from the start. He said marrying you was just a mistake." My head spun. Michael and I had indeed grown apart. We'd been separated for a year but hadn't finalized the divorce. I thought that was for Sophia's sake. "That's a lie," I said with a trembling voice. "It's not a lie," Eleanor interjected. "Charlotte and Michael are a perfect match. Charlotte is more suitable for him than you." Those words cut through my heart like a knife. My own mother knew about my sister's affair with my husband, not only knew but supported it. Dad, did you know too? George averted his eyes slightly but nodded. Michael is a good man. He understands family business. He and Charlotte would make a promising couple. Everything started to connect. This family vacation, the unnatural attitudes of my parents and Charlotte, the secret conversations, and this syringe. I asked with a trembling voice, "What's in that syringe?" Charlotte laughed cruelly. "It's a simple plan. While you're sleeping, inject you with a sleeping drug. Then early tomorrow morning, pretending to go hiking, push you off a cliff." I continued, making it look like an accident. "You're smart," Charlotte said sarcastically, "but your cleverness ends tonight." "Why?" I was speechless at this unbelievable reality. "Why try to kill me?" "Custody of Sophia," Eleanor said. "Michael wants custody of Sophia, but as long as you're alive, if he fights in court, it would be difficult for him to get full custody. And if Michael and I get married," Charlotte continued, "we can raise her. You're just in the way." Horror and anger mixed together. They were trying to take my life, to take my daughter. "Is money involved too?" I asked, feigning calmness while gradually moving toward the emergency button. "Ah, that's part of it too," George said. "Michael's life insurance. He has a substantial policy. You're the beneficiary, but if you're gone, Sophia would receive it. And as her guardians, you would manage it," I continued. "That's right," Charlotte laughed coldly. "I admit you're smart, but that ends tonight. You were really going to kill me?" My voice trembled at the unbelievable reality. "Your own daughter, your sister? Just put you to sleep and make you fall from the mountain," Charlotte said without emotion. "You wouldn't feel any pain." Sophia suddenly spoke up from behind me. "I overheard Aunt Charlotte and Grandpa talking yesterday." All eyes turned to Sophia. They were talking at the bar. Sophia continued with a trembling voice. "They said they would push Mom off the mountain, and that Dad and Aunt Charlotte would get married and raise me." Her small body trembled with anger. "I'll never forgive you. Don't hurt my mum." "Be quiet, Sophia," Eleanor said harshly. "Children shouldn't interfere in adult matters." "You're bad people," Sophia shouted. "You're not real family." George stepped forward. "Enough. We don't have time. Charlotte, hurry." Charlotte approached with the syringe ready. I stood protectively in front of Sophia. The room had only one exit, no way to escape. Even if I called for help from the window, my voice wouldn't reach from this height. Just one option. I moved quickly. As Charlotte extended her arm, I grabbed the lamp from the bedside table and threw it at her. The lamp hit Charlotte's shoulder, and she grimaced in pain. Taking that opportunity, I rushed to the wall and pressed the hotel's emergency button hard. A red light flashed, and a piercing alarm sounded throughout the room. "What did you?" Eleanor screamed. "This is the end," I said with a shaking voice. "Your plan and this false family relationship." There was a knock at the door from the hallway. "Security, is everything all right?" Charlotte quickly hid the syringe in her pocket. George and Eleanor looked at each other, panicking. "Please come in," I shouted loudly. "Help us." The door opened, and two men in uniforms entered the room. "What happened?" one asked. "Hugging Sophia," I said with a trembling voice. "These people were trying to kill me." The other security staff looked at Charlotte. "What did you hide in your pocket?" Charlotte stood pale-faced, unable to say anything. "Please call the police," I said. "I'll explain everything." Outside the window, the first light of dawn had begun to illuminate the mountain ridgeline. The long night was finally coming to an end. 1 year has passed since that night. In a small town in western Massachusetts called Berkshire, Sophia and I had started a new life. Our small bungalow, surrounded by trees, was much more modest than our previous home, but it was full of warmth and security. Above all, there were no false affections or betrayals here. "Mom, look, I passed." Sophia showed me her test paper as soon as she returned from school. "That's wonderful." I hugged her. "How about pizza tonight to celebrate?" Sophia's smile had become brighter and more natural than before. Since starting psychological counseling, she had been gradually recovering. She woke up less frequently from frightening dreams at night and had begun to make new friends. The trial was long and painful. With the evidence gathered, Charlotte, Eleanor, George, and Michael were all found guilty. Surprisingly, during the investigation, it was discovered that Michael had made similar plans in the past. His previous fiancée had nearly died in an accident. He received the heaviest sentence, Charlotte became mentally unstable and was transferred to a treatment facility within the prison. I heard rumors that Eleanor and George, betrayed by Michael, were suffering from heavy regret. Charlotte reportedly continued to refuse visits from her parents. The family bonds built on falsehood had completely collapsed. I changed workplaces and now work as a counselor, specializing in family support for patients at a local hospital. I believe that my experience as a nurse and my own trauma could help heal the wounds of others. Emma, will you join us for dinner tomorrow? The Johnsons, who live nearby, called over the garden fence. I'd love to, I answered with a smile. Robert and Margaret Johnson had been kind to us since we moved to this town. In their 70s, with no children, they doted on Sophia like a granddaughter. Sophia, I'll bake cookies for you, Margaret said gently. Back at home, Sophia was working on her homework. I stood in the kitchen and began preparing dinner. The setting sun streaming through the window bathed the room in a soft orange glow. Mom, Sophia suddenly said, we're happy, aren't we? I paused and looked at her. Yes, we are. Why do you ask? I sometimes think about it, she said, twirling her pencil. What makes a real family? I sat at the table and took my daughter's hand. It's not blood ties, I said slowly. It's trust and love, caring for each other and protecting one another. Sophia nodded. The Johnsons, the people at the hospital, they're all like our family. Yes, I smiled. We've chosen our own family. That night, after Sophia went to sleep, I went out to the porch and looked up at the starry sky. The Berkshire night sky was filled with stars that couldn't be seen in the city. Though we've been deeply wounded, we continue to move forward. Even if memories of the past sometimes bring pain, new memories gradually ease that pain. What is a true family? It's not bound by blood or obligation, but by choice and love. In this small town, we found a new family, our neighbors, colleagues, and, most of all, in each other. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the fresh night air. Tomorrow, another new day begins. Perhaps our story is just truly beginning from here.